Hi everyone, welcome to The Perspective. My name is Kelsey St. Jean. On this channel, my main goal is to discuss the intersectionality of sociology, anthropology, a little bit of biology, as well as even less of psychology. And I will be connecting those subjects with politics, food, pop culture, with celebrities, if I'm interested enough, different conversations that are being had online, different topics that are being had online in these days, economics and geography. And I'll definitely be making some references to Christianity and maybe a little bit of other religions. And I will also be discussing spirituality, because my overall goal in life is to create a space in our country where we have conversations that simplify our days. I am a major stoic, so I believe that there's necessary conversations and unnecessary conversations, and there are things that you don't need to be dealing with in your daily lives to live the best life you can live. And I will also be discussing I'm discussing my interpretation, but I'm also a learning individual, so I'll be discussing my wins and my failures in being a stoic individual and trying to live the most simple life I can live, while also being a human that is discovering different aspects of life on an everyday level. But I do believe that where our country is failing so much is that we are leaving out so many of the sociologists, psychologists, and I think that we have a lot of things to say, right? Some of my favorite people are anthropologists. Now, anthropology is involved in sociology, but it's more centered around the study of groups and kind of involving yourself in those groups and getting to know how they interact with a newcomer and how they see the outside world coming into their spaces, things like that, because they basically know how to be with different people. Like, who do you have to be an anthropologist, to put yourselves within different groups, right? And be comfortable, right? One of my favorite interviews, I'm gonna get her name terribly wrong right now. The Phyllis, oh gosh, I'm gonna forget her name right now, but she's the mother in the Cosby Show. She says one of the major things her mother taught her was how to live in any lifetime, right? And another one of the things she stated was that her mother taught her to make sure your internal self is also being represented in your external and vice versa. And I thought that was so interesting because it's such a major belief in prospering and joy. Now, my relationship with joy has been, from the outside in, I can honestly say, I can see how my relationship with joy can make others feel as though, one, it's not genuine, two, not sustainable, and three, lacking in an overall, or basically in Christianity, the worldly perspective, right? Which when you're hearing, anytime you hear the word worldly in Christianity, the Bible, it's bad. It's terrible. It's one of the worst things you can like possibly hear. If you're being worldly, you're basically being open to any and all low energy individuals, right? And so you can kind of piece together that you have to have a place in your heart that is untouchable. And one of my favorite videos, a pastor who I think, he has some church issues at his church, but I think it's Joel Osteen. There's a video, literally is saved on my YouTube from maybe 12 maybe 15 years ago, as long as I can remember having a YouTube. It's been on there, and I go to it sometimes, but it discusses how you have to have a place in your heart that no one can access. No human being, no worldly flesh human being, that's another like bad term in the Bible, I guess, human being can alter. And it is so tough to think of what that would mean, because that means your neighbors, your friends, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your husband, wife, whatever, your family, your siblings as it relates to siblings, and fathers, and father, mother, and even your children. Like, honestly, no one can interfere with it. And sometimes it means no one, including yourself. So there's a place in your body, and I don't mean the physical body. We can say the spiritual body. Some people, have this, understanding that we live in, different body forms, I guess. But there's a place in you where your fears cannot touch the suffering, because suffering in the Bible is considered natural. Like, it is a common occurrence, right? We won't be going without suffering to some extent. That basically you cannot touch. You cannot, when you're going through your darkest moments, it can't go away. Now, sometimes it will feel tired, diminished, but you basically have to say to yourself, that place in you is your connection with God. And it is such a difficult conversation to have, but I do believe, and this is why I make sure I do relate things to my to Christianity, but I do think there's a healthy version of that. Now, I don't F with them Christian nationalists. Like, nah, get that out of here, because in the Bible, they were seen as false priests. That's seen as proselytizing. It's basically, it creates a bad relationship with God, right? And but God says, even use those people as well. So every time I'm watching that Joel Osteen video with him taking all those people's money, I'm like, okay, yeah, he could be stealing from people and probably not giving back, but he's, and he's not no Robin Hood, but he's putting out some good video, and I don't watch much on his main channel, as to not probably give him more money, but you have to, there's information that's out there in the Bible, and people are, if they're reading directly from the Bible, and they're, if the information is not It's not done in a prideful way, as some Christian nationalists have unfortunately become. Then I think it's good information. If it's not, if it's the person is just attempting to let you understand how to interpret the Bible, if it's done in a humble way, which sometimes, look, that's just not happening. These people, some of the people crazy. They're crazy. They're extremists, personally. But then I think that there is something to learn. And the humility in the Bible, saying that you can learn from false priests because they're still using the Bible, that's to me, that takes a lot of humility in God, right? Because for God to want to let us know that, hey, I'm not always going to come to you in the way you want me to come to you, right? I think that showcases some level of humility from God, right? He's saying, like, look, I'm not going to come to you looking my best. I'm going to come to you as a priest that's stealing all the money in the whole neighborhood. But your heart going to be clear because that priest is still teaching the word. And so I'm going to make some connections to my Christianity because I think my goals are to bring people, of course, yes, into Christianity, but do what you want. Honestly, really do what you want. I'm gonna be honest. At the end, as people's darkest times, they do usually turn to God. I'm gonna tell you just outright. If you even know of God, you probably are going to turn to God in your darkest moments. And so even those times I would be grateful for, right? So you can go out living your life, whoop-de-doo, as you won't. But I do believe that in people's hearts, like if they know God in any instance, then yes, they will turn to it at some point. And I've seen great, amazing stories of that as well. So now I won't mostly be talking about Christianity, but you will hear me reference it in conversations that may not seem like it has anything to do with Christianity, because I believe that it lives in everything, right? And so there's commentary that I do want to start opening up about how our perspective is on I guess Christian nationalists versus the LGBTQ plus community, which I think that's an odd versus battle right there, right? It's just like it's stupid. Okay. If you're a Christian and you believe in what that Bible says, I mean, all of it, not just the parts you want to be picky at, it tells you everyone's a sinner. And so if you start there, that's definitely, those are conversations I want to have. I want to discuss why. Now, I'm not going to lie. I am not a person that knows every verse in the Bible. You're not going to hear me being like 1 Timothy 1, this and this, like too much. Like, I'm not just going to be pulling off the brain. I'm going to be straight up with you. But I do remember the stories from the Bible and the way that it was being, the way that Jesus spoke in the Bible, the way that the words were, like, there was a way the words were being stated that I thought was very interesting. And I grew up to study sociology, which of course brings in some language, as which discusses semantics and pragmatics. So, the meaning of language and how it's interpreted, how it's, and there's some, you can discuss some form, how it's, changed over time, how, it evolved in time to mean different things, why does, things like, why does the Bible even, why, there's stories in the Bible that seem hyperbolic and crazy, and some animals running around, and Goliath got hit in the head with a piece of rock from a slingshot, like things like that. They seem just outlandish, but there's things in it that I want to discuss the interpretation of all of those things, and how it relates to our lives right now. So you'll hear me reference it. I'm just telling y'all because I don't want anyone to get annoyed. but I think that it has so much to do with my studies in sociology that you could be shocked by. For instance, one of my major and most beloved influences in sociology, of course, there's Carl Jung, there's of course Freud in the psychology area. There's so many, but of course one of them is Karl Marx, as well as but there's Orwell, there's who I don't know so much on, but enough to where I get the gist. So I do want to discuss what we're going through right now as a country and where we can go. And you'll hear me, I'm actually going to be relaying a theory that I created myself in a sociological equation that I created, and I'm going to be putting that on this channel at some point. And I'm making a film. God bless. So you're going to hear me putting out information as it relates to that film. And I hope with all of that, everything just goes well with that. But that's why I made my channel, because I want to get us started in the right direction and start pulling a lot of our thoughts together. Because in the psychology world, if anything has too much control over your thoughts, they can eventually have control of your everyday habits, and then your emotions, and that can turn into so many other things. And I think sociology, and what it does well, is it takes all of this information, all of the people involved, and it tries to tell us how to easier relate to each other. Like, how do we relate? I think it simplifies everything, and I think we cannot take that take that for granted, as well as psychology. I think it's so odd that we're going through this country without hearing from psychologists. And I worked formerly as a long-term substitute teacher for some years, and I would say like all of my students needed a therapist. And if all of them needed a therapist as kids, then I do believe many adults need therapy as a, I would say many, and when I mean many, I mean all of them. Okay. Because I think it should be a necessary part of our lives. But with all of that, I want to break down what the patriarchy is and what it means to be involved in a patriarchy versus what it would mean to be in a matriarchy. I want to discuss alienation, mass production. I gotta fight with McDonald's. Okay, I need to get them together. And so, but I will also be discussing my fitness goals. I gained a little bit of weight in the last few years, and so I'm going to be discussing that as well. And my perception of weight gain, and what that means. And I'll be discussing so many topics. I've seen so many things online in the past few years. Your girl been wanting to create a YouTube for like 7 years, and I just been like sidelined, being like super perfectionist. And so I'm here, I'm doing this, and I'm not shy. So let's get it. The perspective.